I am Marcus Dixon with Gold Derby, and we are here with Meghann Fahy from the White Lotus season 2 on HBO. You play Daphne Sullivan, who travels to Sicily with her husband Cameron, Theo James, and another couple. And as the season progressed, more and more juicy layers get peeled back for your character. Tell me, what was it like reading those scripts for the first time and uncovering all these new details about Daphne?
It was a pretty special experience. I mean, we got all of the scripts at the same time and I read them all sort of just in one sitting because I mean, how could you take a break, you know? I was such a fan of the first season, so I was like I sort of felt like I was like, ooh, I can't believe I get to read these. But yeah, no, it was really interesting to see sort of the progression of the character of Daphne. And I think for her the biggest turning point is in episode 5 when she's talking to Harper about the trainer, and then after that it's sort of off to the races.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that transition was very, very cool to read.
That was a good scene. And I remember watching that being like, wait, are they saying what I think they're saying? Like with her child may not be Cameron's child. And what was your reaction when you were reading that?
I think I probably felt the same as you. And I think that that's what's so good about the way that Mike wrote it. I knew when we were shooting it what she was inferring or just actually blatantly saying, I guess.
Mm.
But the thing that's so special about the way that Mike presented it to the audience is that you're sort of meant to not, in a lot of ways, she really is just saying it. But the way that she's saying it makes you wonder if, because you're also kind of like, she couldn't possibly be saying that. That's so insane.
Mm.
And I think that's part of what makes the scene so special is that you're taking it in and you're not totally sure what's
Mhm.
happening.
Yeah, that's the greatness about his writing, because then in the finale, it's kind of picked up again. Like the son calls you on FaceTime and you're like, Cameron, come talk to your son. And he's like, "Ugh, that's not my son." At least that's the reaction that's how I took that moment to be.
Yeah, I think there are 100 different ways to interpret that. And I honestly don't know. I'm actually would be really curious to know what Theo would say.
Mm.
Um, I sort of always felt like it was just his sort of general, maybe disinterest in the whole thing. But because I don't know if I feel like he really knows that. I
Mm.
feel like if you really knew that, that would be interesting. But see, this is what I'm talking about.
Hmm.
It could be that.
I am scheduled to talk to Theo next week, so I'm definitely going to bring this up when I talk to
Good.
him.
I can't wait to find out what he says.
Well, episode 1, the very first scene, we start with Daphne. You're kind of the introduction to the show, and you're the first main character that the audience sees. And she's talking with some of Mike White's friends from Survivor, and then she kind of has a run-in with a dead body in the ocean. What did you think of your big introduction to the show?
I was really, really surprised, I think, when I opened up that episode and I saw that it was Daphne. And then beyond that, I was just kind of really looking forward to being able to just sort of shoot that scene where I'm in the water and I find the body. And I had never even filmed something similar to that. So from that standpoint, I was just kind of like, oh, that's cool. I've never done that before. That'll be really interesting.
And did you have any personal theories about who might be floating in the water? Because the internet sure went crazy for a couple months there.
When I started reading it, I had no idea. I mean, the thing that's been so cool, or that was so cool to sort of watch happen, is all of the tiny, tiny things that people picked up on. Like I remember there was like a scene with the guys who go to the Godfather Village, and then there's the car with the dummy in it, and she's wearing the dress that Coolidge ends up wearing in the show.
Mm.
And I remember Mike being like, I cannot fucking believe that somebody picked up on that. Like, it was such a tiny Easter egg, and I never imagined that somebody would realize that that was there. But that,
Mm.
so. But no, I didn't know. I maybe knew. No, I don't think I knew. I feel like I read it and just was totally like
Hmm.
taking it in without really having a theory about whether or not it would be her or it would be anybody else.
I remember thinking, it could be anybody but Daphne. Like you're the only one that's safe.
Yeah, yeah. I guess that was another really cool thing when I read the first scene. I was like, oh, I'm not the person who dies. At least I have that piece of information.
And another question that was kind of on everyone's mind regarding your character was what happened in the finale between Daphne and Ethan, played by Will Sharp. It's heavily implied that they walk off together and hook up, but I'm dying to know your take since you are, the person that played her.
Well, we never really, there was no sort of decision made about that. Even with Mike, he kind of was like, I'm not really sure. Will and I spoke about it, and I think we sort of agreed that we felt like something physical had happened, but we didn't necessarily know if it was like that they had really sealed the deal or if it was just other stuff. But yeah, we kind of landed on that. We just thought that something definitely happened, but we don't really know what exactly.
Mm-hmm. And did you follow all of the online social media fan theories and things throughout the season? Were you a lurker?
I wasn't a lurker, but friends of mine and my family and stuff would sometimes send me things that they saw that they thought were funny or crazy or whatever. So I had an awareness of what was happening, but I definitely was sort of staying away from like getting on the internet and looking too much, because who knows what you could find when you do that.
Hopefully only good things. The internet's so positive, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's such a safe space.
Season two filmed completely out of order, different scenes, different episodes, all kind of mixed together. Do you recall, I'm sure you do, your very first day on set? What was the first scene that you had?
The first scene that we shot was episode 1. The breakfast scene between Aubrey and Theo and myself when he loses his luggage, and is sort of like screaming on the phone, and then I'm like talking to her about how he he always does this and Daphne thinks it's really funny. That was the first scene that I
And
shot.
then, and conversely, do you remember what the very last scene was, and how emotional was that last day on set?
The very last thing that we shot was this little tidbit of Theo and I knocking on Harper and Ethan's door to ask them to come to dinner with us. So it was just like a little sort of bit. We actually had that stage. It was on a stage because the adjoining hotel room that the two couples are meant to share doesn't exist. So they built it in Rome, and we shot a lot of those interior scenes at the very, very end. So it was emotional, but also by then it was like a lot of other people had sort of already wrapped, and we had sort of already had our emotional moment of that prior to sort of doing those scenes. So but yeah, it was definitely wild to be like, wow, okay, that's it, we just go home now. Back to America in real life.
And how much fun did you and Aubrey Plaza have in those scenes where your characters say goodbye to the boys and spend the night together in Noto?
Oh my God, we had so much fun. We shot at this beautiful palazzo. And so we just, and it was nice because it was sort of just the two of us. And so it felt very sort of cozy, and we kind of just hung out and chatted between, moving around this space to shoot various parts of that little segment. But yeah, it was lovely.
I've always been a fan of hers, but I feel like this role in particular, she delivered in a way that she hasn't before. Do you kind of feel the same way?
I mean, I've always been a fan of hers, and I've seen her now do so many other things that are so different from, what people really know her for is Parks and Rec. And I'm just really happy for her. I think that she's an actor who has a really big range, and it's nice that, people are now getting to see her do all of that stuff. But yeah, she was amazing on the show. I think everybody honestly was really perfectly chosen and understood the assignment, and all of the characters felt very sort of lived in and real and authentic in a way that I think is part of the reason that people really like the show. I think that was true for the first season too.
Hmm. And the cast is so big. Are there any actors you didn't get to share many scenes with that you wish you could have had, one or two extra scenes with them?
I mean, I didn't get scenes with most of the other actors. I would have loved to have been able to work with Michael Imperioli. He's not only an amazing actor, but just one of the best humans I think I've ever met. He's just so incredible. Um, I would have loved to have worked with Tom Hollander. I mean, there's just so many amazing people. I wish I honestly wish I had a scene with everybody.
Hmm.
And I remember feeling that way even when we were on set.
And Jennifer Coolidge, I'm trying to remember if you interacted at least a couple times, right? You and Tanya.
No, but I did get to at least be on set with her a little bit, which was obviously heaven on earth. And I watched her from the monitor a couple of times as well, just like in awe of her sort of ability to just kind of make up things that were just so funny and unexpected, and watching her and Mike sort of play off of each other, and he would just like yell stuff to her and she'd do it. Like, it was very cool to sort of watch them do their thing, because they're such good friends and collaborators. So yeah.
Occasionally, characters from one White Lotus season will pop up in another. And I'm sure you've been asked this a zillion times, so please indulge me. But do you have any dreams of one day returning as Daphne? And where do you think she would be in her life if we see her in a future season?
I mean, I would be, the thing about Mike is whatever I imagine her, it's probably the opposite. Like, he's so unexpected in the way that he sort of brings things together and also apart that I couldn't even guess. But I think right now Daphne's probably like on her next vacation with Cameron. Like, I think they sort of are the characters who come as they are and sort of leave more or less the same. I think they're less disrupted than some of the other characters, and I think they probably just go home and continue their strange little life.
Hmm. And Mike White, we've mentioned him a lot. What is he like as the boss on set? What's his directing style?
He's really, really relaxed and super easygoing. He's the perfect sort of union of a person who knows exactly what they want and also doesn't feel like they're, being specific with you. It's like he creates an environment that feels completely free, and yet you also have this sort of larger knowledge that he's going to lead you exactly to where you need to be and where he wants you to be. And so it was pretty great, honestly, experience working with him.
And huge congrats to you and the entire cast for winning at the SAG Awards for Best Ensemble. Was
Thanks.
that a night that you'll never forget?
That is definitely a night that I will never forget. Yeah. I've never even really like thought about being in that space. But it's so incredibly special because it's a room of other actors who are voting for other actors that they think are cool. And so I think it means so much because of that. And it was really lovely for us all to be there. It was the first time I think we had all been together and since we stopped shooting. So it was a really special night.
And the Emmy nominations are coming up very soon. You're getting a lot of buzz for this role. And, last year, if I remember correctly, season 1 got 5 supporting actresses all nominated in the same category, and Jennifer Coolidge won, of course. What would it mean for you to get your first Emmy nomination?
I mean, that would be insane. It doesn't really feel, it's not even like sort of within my realm of reality. Like, it just doesn't feel like that would ever happen. It would be next level amazing. I'm so proud to have been a part of this show. And that to me is like the thing that I will always keep with me. But to be recognized for having been a part of it would also be very special.
Well, thank you so much for chatting with us today. And I'm curious, where can we see you next? What's your next project?
I'm shooting a Netflix limited series right now that I think is going to come out next year. It's called The Perfect Couple, and it's based off of a book. And yeah.
Well, we can't wait to see that, and best of luck at the Emmy Awards.
Thanks so much.